Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. I'm Jim Ewing with Provision Solutions. We've enjoyed sharing insights, inspiration, and informative updates through our Marketplace Ministries events. Whether in person or virtual, there's been a wealth of great resources provided. Details are provided in the comments below, along with information on staying informed of upcoming events and interacting with others online. We trust you'll enjoy the segment and invite you to be a part of our Marketplace Ministries Network. We'd love to have you as part of our collaborative Christian community. Thanks. And now, here's our presentation. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. Welcome to our Marketplace Ministries Network get-together. This is the second meeting that we've had for our 2023-2024 season. I'm Jim Ewing. I've met most of the participants in the room here previously, which is great. And for those that may be watching the recorded version afterwards, thanks for picking that up. We'll look forward to connecting with you in one way, shape, or form, and hopefully in a future upcoming live meeting. So this is a great opportunity for us to connect with our topic and with each other. And as followers of Jesus Christ, it's really important for us to be able to connect not only to those that are in the household of faith, but also to those that are in the larger community where we live, where we work, and where we play. And so I'm looking forward to having the conversation with our two outstanding presenters that are going to be sharing information. I've met with both of them in the past, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy what they have to share with us here tonight. So thank you so much once again. Our objective with Marketplace Ministries Network and with the virtual events is that we would support one another and help to create an environment where each of us can grow into what the Lord has designed us to be. And that is true whether you're in business, and we have a lot of business people who connect with our group, but it may also apply to you if you're looking at starting some sort of a ministry area. That's an important aspect. Or maybe it's a special project of some sort that the Lord has laid on your heart and you want it to grow and blossom. You want to stay tuned to what we've got, because that's exactly what happened with Jennilee, who's going to be sharing her story. So we are just so delighted to have you with us. Here's a quick look at what we've got on today's agenda, and I'll just let you take a quick look at that while we kind of talk a little bit about what we have happening here. So we're just going to take a little bit of a break over Christmas and New Year's, and we'll regroup one more time. I think it's January the 17th, if you want to mark your calendars now. January 17th in the new year, when we have our third meeting in our series. We will have more information with respect to the program coming out in the weeks that are ahead of us here. Let's open our meeting tonight in a word of prayer. Join with me, will you? We're thankful, Heavenly Father, that we can get together, even though we're separated by many distances, in most cases here for our meeting. But we're thankful that, Heavenly Father, that you reached out in love, that you reached out to us and you connected, and you brought us into right relationship with your Heavenly Father. Thank you for the gift of salvation that you offer to each of us through the sacrifice that you made on Calvary's cross. We would be lost without that. Thank you, Lord, that we can have forgiveness of our sins in you through what you have done for us, and that we can have fellowship with those that are in the family of faith in Jesus Christ. Beyond that, we thank you that we have a future and that we have a hope because of who you are and because of what you have done for each of us that have accepted you as our personal Savior. So we ask right now that you'd be with us, guide us and direct us in our conversations. May our conversations be fruitful in the days and weeks ahead, in the places where you have called us to be in the marketplaces of life. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. So that's our agenda, and we're looking forward to our two keynote speakers that are here. You will see we have plans for a breakout room segment here, and in the live meeting, we may just have a couple of breakout rooms, but I think we can still make that work. The key to this is have a small room with a small number of participants, and that gives you plenty of opportunity to be involved in the conversation. That's exactly what we want. So thank you in advance for that. And maybe if I could just give you a quick heads up, when we get into the breakout room segment, these are the things that we want to focus in on. Now, we may not get to all of them. We may have to change this up a little way, but we'll have you focus on brainstorming some creative ways that you would suggest might be appropriate for us to connect with those in different environments that we find ourselves, whether that's work, perhaps an educational setting, recreational when you're relaxing and having a good time out in the fresh air, or if you're maybe at a family gathering, that can be a challenging situation too, with varying family dynamics that are at play. But then another place would be just in those daily interactions that we have, on your way through the community, grocery shopping, gas station, interacting with other people that you happen to meet. And I really think it's maybe an opportunity where the Lord brings people across our paths where we have opportunity to connect with them, and that we might be sensitive to when those opportunities present themselves and have the right word or thing to say at that time. So that's kind of where we want to go. So we do have an excellent program. We've talked with our two presenters in advance to set up for today. Let me quickly mention to you, in today's session, let's take a little bit of time to get a better understanding of who it is that we are trying to reach. Who are we trying to reach? Or perhaps more appropriately, it's who is it that we've been called to reach? Who is it that the Lord would have us in our day-to-day experience connect with? So maybe just think about that. And when you're thinking about your target audience, because we are dealing with a number of different opportunities here, maybe if it's a business that you're involved in or thinking of getting into, your target audience might be your customer. Probably would be your customer. If it's a ministry area that you're in, perhaps it's a congregation or the members of the congregation that you're working with in your community. And if it's a special project, then perhaps it's those that might be viewed as constituents or stakeholders, attendees. Basically, it comes down to who is it that you're trying to help. So let's get into our conversation here. Our first presenter, let me introduce to you Jennilee Greig. Jennilee is founding director of Thrive Kids Canada. And I've really been impressed as I've talked with Jennilee. Don't blush on this one, Jennilee, but the gentle way that you have of actually speaking with other people, interacting with them. And I really appreciate how you bring that into conversations. Jennilee is an entrepreneur. She started several after-school care ministry centers and shares an inspiring story, and I think we'll hear parts of it tonight, about how she serves others in practical ways, demonstrating the love of Jesus Christ. She is the founding director, as I mentioned, of Thrive Kids Canada, which is an association, progression in what's been happening here. It's a business as mission that provides missional, adventure-based, school-aged childcare programs across British Columbia. So Jennilee, it's a pleasure to have you with us. I'm going to turn the program over to you, and I do understand you have another commitment, so thanks for making this time available to be with us here now.
Right. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to share a little bit about Thrive and about how I've been able to connect with the target audience. And so Thrive, yeah, we have multiple kids centers across BC, but our vision is to be across Canada, hence that Thrive Kids Canada. And so it was really important when you think about connecting with your target audience. When I first decided that I think this is something that God is leading me into doing, I had to figure out who is your target audience? Who is going to be my target audience? And that's the first thing for anybody that's in business or even ministry, even with your church. You need to know who is going to be your target audience. And so for me, I had heard about this childcare crisis, but I knew parents were going to be, and guardians were going to be a target audience. But for all of us, if our audience is too broad, we're probably not going to hit anybody as well as we could. We need to narrow it down. So I had to really figure out, well, which parents are the ones that need this childcare, and which parents are the ones that are going to be okay with or appreciate faith-based childcare. And My target audience, though, I knew that I wanted to help kids fall in love with Jesus that had never heard about Jesus. So first of all, I had to make sure that my target audience was non-Christians. So that was the first thing that I knew. They were going to be non-Christians. I wasn't going to go and market to the Christian schools, for example. We were going to market to the public schools. The other thing I had to learn is like, okay, what target audience? Is it affluent families with 2 working parents? Is it the single parents that are on the lower income scale that need to be working after school hours just in order to make ends meet? So I had to decide, or do I have to decide, which one of those I'm going to try and attract? And to be honest, I had to decide, and I went with the lower income single parents that I was going to try and attract. And so my target audience was mostly single, low income families that needed childcare because the mom either needed a break after school or the mom was working after school hours and needed somewhere for her children to go. Now, we've sort of evolved our target audience because we realize we can do both, but in order to attract more higher income families, we have to have a different public image than the public image that we started with that would attract the single parents. So the first thing that was so important to us was to know who our target audience was. And then the second thing was for us to figure out is to be where they are. So first, who are they? And then we have to be where they are. And that might be virtual now, but it can also be physical. So for me, where are the kids? Where are the parents that I'm going to try and connect with? And so if my target audience is non-Christian families, I'm going to go to probably public schools. I'm going to go to the soccer fields. I'm going to go to the library. I'm going to go to the bowling alleys. And those are the places where I'm going to, old school way when I started, put out posters. And I say old school putting up posters, and now we've moved to social media, going to where people are on a virtual level. So I'm joining mom groups and caregiver groups and parenting and event groups. So I'm still going where those people are, but it might be virtual. We've seen quite a big swing, though, as to where the people are. We're swinging back to being physically with them and putting up posters because people are sort of oversaturated with social media right now. And so we're actually finding out that, actually going to the school carnival and having a booth and meeting the families physically where they are has been so powerful and effective. And I think that's something for every business. Like you see big businesses that don't need to do this, but like TELUS, they'll go to the festivals where the families are, and they have an activity booth even at children's festivals because they know that making a personal connection with their target audience is really what's going to get the customers in the door. So for us, we wanted to be where those non-Christian families are. So we go to the schools, we go to the school festivals, we go to children's festivals, and then virtually, of course, we join the mommy groups and things like that. And so that is how we get to make a connection. But then in making that connection, the important thing for us that we have figured out is that it's not about advertising who we are necessarily as much as it is connecting with those parents and finding out who they are and making them feel valuable and seen and cared for. So when we're talking to a parent at a school booth, for example, we might say, oh yeah, it must be really hard to be a single parent. I bet you could use a break after school. And so now we've related it to their need, and then we can invite them rather than promoting to them or marketing. We can invite them. We can say, hey, why don't you bring your kids next week and just try it out and see if you find this helpful for your family. And so we like to do it as an invitation. The more personal that we can be with the people that we're trying to attract, the more effective we're going to be. So we can just give out flyers and have banners and do marketing. But really what happens is whenever we can know the person we're reaching before they even come into the door, the stronger it's going to be when they come into the door, and the more open they're going to be to receiving our mission and our services. So to just like a little recap, so it's first I had to know who my target market was, then I needed to be where they are, either physically or virtually, and then I needed to make sure that they felt seen and known and celebrated even before they're in the doors of Thrive. And so just giving you an example, when we first started out, I met a woman on the street outside my house, and her car was packed with things. And I said, "Oh, are you guys going on a trip?" And she said, "No, we actually don't have a place to rent anymore. We're kind of in limbo, so we think we're going to be camping for the summer." And so I said, "Well, you know what? I have this thing called Thrive, and we help kids thrive after school and in summer all day long. Why don't you just bring your kids and see if you find that helpful? In case it gets too hot at the campground, just bring them." And so we actually did that pro bono. But she felt so seen and cared for that she brought her kids, and she became our biggest verbal advocate everywhere. And she knew a ton of people. She was actually a school teacher that was just in a rough spot. And so she spread the word about how caring and how loving Thrive was. But it was because I didn't just say, "Oh, well, come sign up your kids for Thrive because Thrive is awesome." I said, "I think we can help you, and maybe, we can do this together." And so it's really about them being seen and heard and cared for even before they're in our doors. And then when we get families in the door, that's a whole different thing. So that's like connecting with our target audience. I mean, it's not different, but it's to the next level. It's really, we want to make them feel valuable to ourselves as people and to our organization or our business or our ministry. So connecting with our target audience is all about making the customer or the client feel valuable. And we do that in multiple different ways. And part of that is like, we want them also to feel like the hero. We don't always want to set ourselves up to be the hero, but we want them to feel valuable and like a little bit of a hero. So what I mean is like, "Oh, I really love having little Johnny in my program. He's such a delight. He brings me so much joy." And when I say things like that to a parent, sometimes they start to cry and they feel good. They've contributed, they've succeeded with their child. And yet, really, we're benefiting from it too, having their child in our program. But now the parent also feels like a hero and can't wait to come pick up her kid the next day because she knows that maybe she's going to have another affirmation and she's going to feel valued. And so we want the parents to also feel like a hero. And it's not just about us, it's about them and their value. So first of all, again, we want them to be seen. I'm pretty sure that a lot of us have gone into a business and stood around waiting for some service and you felt completely invisible. And sometimes you just get frustrated and you walk out because nobody even acknowledges you and you're like waiting for that, right? And so first of all, they need to be seen. And so my encouragement, I mean, obviously it's the easy baby step one is to say hi and acknowledge every single person that comes into your business or organization. So at Thrive, what we do is the staff have a policy and they have to say hi and bye to every single person that enters the property. When they enter the property, when they exit the property. So when they come through the play yard, the staff out there say hi. When they come inside the building, the staff say hi. When they leave the building, the staff say bye. When they leave the play area, the staff say bye. So they've been acknowledged 4 times just picking up their child. And hopefully there's been a longer connecting conversation as well. So we want them to know that they're seen. And then we want them to know beyond that, that they're known. That is the most important thing. Like if you've ever gone into a business and they start calling you by name, "Oh, hey, Jennilee, it's so great to see you," right? That makes me feel really great. And I'm going to go to that place to buy my Slurpee instead of the place down the road, right? So it is so good to make sure that they're known and start to learn the names. And sometimes I have to write down names. Sometimes I'll look at pictures. We have pictures in kids files, so that's easier for us than say like a corner store. It'd be creepy if you were taking pictures of your customers, maybe. But but we have pictures for security reasons. And so I'll have to memorize the names with the pictures so that we can acknowledge the parents by name. And we take it to the next level. And if we know that it's the parent's birthday, we'll give them a birthday card, or we'll say, hey, happy birthday. Or I heard it was your anniversary. Happy anniversary. Or like, hey, how was your trip? Or how's your dog? I heard your dog is sick. And so you just make sure that they feel known by interacting with small things that might seem trivial, but to them, it's a big deal. If you go into somewhere and somebody actually remembers last time you were in there that you say you were going on a trip, and then you say, hey, how was your trip? It makes you feel like $1 million. So we want them to feel seen, and we want them to feel known. And then we want them to also feel celebrated. How many of you guys like to feel celebrated? I think we all like to feel celebrated, right? And so that's where you hear it in customer service, right? You hear that thanks for coming, but it goes so far beyond that. You really want them to know that they're so valuable and that they're actually your hero. Like, hey, I really loved working on your car. That was an epic car. I've never worked on an Audi before. Or, hey, you know what? So for us, we're celebrating their kids. Or maybe we're celebrating like the creativity of their kids. Sometimes we're celebrating that, like, hey, thanks for bringing in your kid. Like, it's awesome that you bring him first thing in the morning. I love connecting a one-on-one before the crowd gets here. And so we celebrate their success. And they're part of our organization. We can say, hey, we just love that you're part of our Thrive family. And families, like the parents just beam when we celebrate them. And then we want them to know that they're cared for. And now there's two levels of cared for. There's cared about and there's cared for. And in some organizations and business, you're not going to be able to totally care for people in action, but you can make them know that they're cared about. And so, for example, during COVID, we had a ton of people leave our program during COVID, during the shutdown. We were open through the whole closed down because we're essential service, but some didn't need it and were scared, so they left. But they came back because they knew how much they were cared about and how much they were cared for. So they were receiving emails from us in the interim that said, hey, how's your family doing? Is there anything your family needs? We're looking forward to seeing you again. We hope that your family is in good health. And so they knew that they were cared about. And when there was a physical need, if we were able to help, then we would help and we would actually care for them. And we find that when we care for people, for example, Christmas is coming up, we'll often just pull a parent to the side and say, hey, how's Christmas? Is Santa Claus going to be able to show up this year? And if they get all nervous and kind of say, yeah, no, it's a little bit tough, then we put together a Christmas hamper for them. And so that's just one example that is showing care for the people. And those people become our biggest advocates in public spaces. They go back to the school and they're like, yeah, they like gave us this Christmas thing, or yeah, they just keep on reaching out on email. They care about us so much. Like, we haven't been there for 3 months, but we still get an email checking in on us during COVID. So we can never care for somebody too much. They love it and they will return. So when COVID sort of slowed down and people got comfortable, we had more people return. We were packed at the seams. We had wait lists, even though we had lost over 90% of our clientele during the actual closure. So I think having them know that they are seen and known and celebrated and cared for is so important. And then my last point about connecting with our target audience is that they are connected in. And so it's not just about connecting them with us and our program and our staff and our business or organization, but we've really figured out that we need to connect people with each other within our business and our organization. And Volvo actually does the same thing. So it's not just like, oh, ministry style businesses. Volvo actually has like camps that are like festivals, and everybody that owns a Volvo, they go and they connect and they party with their Volvos. It's really weird, but they've tapped into that truth that people want to be connected with each other. And so at Thrive, we have multiple opportunities for our families to connect with each other so that they feel part of a bigger family. So we'll have family nights where they can just, instead of picking up their kids, they stay for pizza and games, or pizza and Christmas caroling, or whatever. But we give them opportunities to not only get to know us, but to get to know other families that are using this service. And I like to say to a parent, like, oh, you really need to meet this other parent, come to family night because they do the same thing as you, or you would really enjoy the fact that like they're outdoorsy too. Maybe you guys could go on hikes together as your families. But we work hard to bring together the families because we, as staff, we can't reach everybody on a personal level. But if we're connecting other people to other people within the organization, then they're going to feel connected and a sense of belonging in a much stronger way than we can just do in a customer service type of way. So we want people to feel valued and celebrated, and that's by seeing them, knowing them, celebrating them, caring for them, and connecting them with others within our organization. And that's what's brought us from like grassroots, 3 kids on our first summer camp, to now we had 5 centers. We have about 300 kids in after school care, 450 in summer camps. And most of it is word of mouth because people feel valuable. So I don't know if there's any questions or things that you guys want to know about what I've said. I hope it's kind of been a little bit inspiring or helpful. But yeah, that's how we've done it.
Oh, Jennilee, you've just given us so much information here. Thank you. That's an awesome presentation. And we've connected a few times in the past, and you've just added to what I've learned from you in previous conversations. So thanks. Now, I know that you do have another commitment. Do you have time for a question from the group right now?
I can take a couple of questions. Yeah, give me I'll have 3 minutes. How about that?
Okay, so very quickly, we'll put you on the timer. Anyone with a question? Trevor, you don't get to because you get to entertain her a little bit later in the week. Okay, I got a note here. Thank you so much, Jennilee. Good to have new joiners here that I didn't say hello to initially here. Joma, Wayne, Kennedy, Collins, Boots. Good to have you all here. Have I acknowledged them? Have I shown that I care? I hope I can. Okay, great to have all of you. Questions for Jennilee before she goes? Pastor L.
How do you fund your work? Would you consider yourself to be a registered charity or a business or a combination thereof?
We're a combination. So we are a registered charity, but we mostly run as a business as mission. So most of our funding comes from fees. Some of it comes from government, and 3% comes from charitable donations.
Well done.
Anyone else? Quick question.
I have one question. Thank you so much for the presentation, and you're doing an amazing job. I just wanted to know, how do you infuse the faith-based arm of the ministry you're doing with the kids? Do you inform their parents that you're faith-based, and then how do you infuse Christ in the activity?
That's a great question. So we don't advertise that we're faith-based, so we're not putting fish and crosses all over our marketing. But as soon as they hit the website, they'll know that we're faith-based. And so there's a tab on there called Thriving Spiritually, where we describe how we approach spirituality. And then when they are signing their children up, they actually have to sign a form to say that they understand that their kids are going to be taught about Jesus and the Bible and a bunch of other things. So they have to sign and give us permission to teach their kids about God. And then we infuse Jesus into everything we do. So if you guys know the verse that says, when you're walking along the way, and when you're resting, and when you're sleeping, like, put these things on the hearts of your children, right? And so that's how we approach it. So we do Bible stories, and we use the discovery method every single day during snack time after school, where we read a story and say, what does this say about God? What does it say about people or you? What, if it's true, what are you going to do about it? And who are you going to tell? So we do that every single day with the kids. But we also we'll stop at the top of a hike and be like, look at what God has made. This is so incredible. Or we'll have a break in a soccer game and look at the clouds, and same idea, like, God made these clouds. Isn't this amazing? And he made all of this, but he also made you. Or like, can you feel your heart beating? Isn't that cool that God gave us a heart that beats? Or so we train our staff to bring God into as much of the activity time as possible, but also to have intentional, more exploration time of the Bible with the kids. And people will ask all the time, well, do they leave? I think in like since 2007, I can count maybe 5 families that have left for Christian reasons or religious reasons, and 3 of them returned within 3 months, because they so missed the family value, that we, and the care.
Well, you've got a huge family there. I thought I grew up in a large family with 6 kids, but you've got hundreds that attend your events, your centers, pardon me, and 400 plus at summer camps. So you've got a huge family that you're looking after, Jennilee, and you're doing some wonderful things. God bless you, and thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us here today. And just a little heads up, Jennilee and I connected some time ago. I've got a video of that conversation, and we'll soon be making that available, okay? So she tells some more stories that you'll be able to catch up on there. Time just didn't permit to go much further. Thank you, Jennilee.
And Jim, if you want to give out my email address at the end, if people have other questions, feel free to do that. I'm great with that.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
God bless you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Okay. Everyone else stay. Jennilee is leaving. Okay, that's awesome. Well, again, it's good to have all of you here. Now, I neglected to say, please put your contact information into the chat feature. I've thrown some stuff in there just to kind of welcome you, but that was a little late in coming. Yeah, if you've got some comments that you'd like to add about our topic, a Bible verse or a story out of the Bible, or something that you'd like to share with the audience, particularly with regard to connecting with your target audience, feel free to do that. And again, we would hope that you'd maybe follow up with some of those that have put their contact info there so that you can connect and have further conversations that would be meaningful to each of you. So thank you very much for doing that. All right. Well, as I mentioned earlier, Carol Henders is our other wonderful presenter that we have on the program here tonight. Carol actually spoke at one of our previous events a number of years ago when we were meeting in person. That was great to have you there at that event. And now in a virtual format, we're excited to have this new and improved, well, this other opportunity that we are trying to connect in. Now, a little bit of background, if you didn't read the promo material that we had, Carol is the sales manager with Touch Canada Broadcasting. She is also co-pastor of Laurier Heights Baptist Church in Edmonton. So good to have you with us, Pastor Henders, Pastor Carol. And wonderful to have you sharing some information here. Quickly, Carol has an extensive background in sales and marketing, which is a great fit for our topic here today. She completed the marketing management program at Red River College in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and has then spent 15 years in medical sales, traveling across Western Canada, developing new business for different medical device companies. Then Carol aligned her business career with her faith journey when she left medical sales in 2013 and became the sales manager in Edmonton and Red Deer with Touch Canada Broadcasting. And now she works with a team of sales professionals who help businesses grow by using local radio advertising on Shine FM and AM 930 The Light. And I'll just make a personal note here. I really appreciate what the folks there at Touch Canada Broadcasting have done just to help us promote awareness of what we are doing through your community events board. Thank you, Carol. Great to have you with us. I'm turning it over to you.
All right. Well, thank you. It is great to be here, and I appreciate the invitation to come back again, Jim. And it's good to see everyone here on Zoom. I'm going to jump right in because I am hoping to cover off 3 topics tonight, which is going to be a bit of a challenge in 15 to 20 minutes. But we will give it a go because I want to talk about these are all things that can be applied whether you are for-profit business, a not-for-profit, or a church. They're all just kind of key elements to think about when you're targeting your audience. So first of all, I want to talk about marketing budget and how to use that effectively in terms of reaching your target audience. And then just very briefly, I'm going to touch on the necessity of digital marketing and combining that with other forms of traditional media. And then we're going to close by looking at the importance of crafting a message that speaks specifically to your target audience and that accomplishes your marketing goals, because you can have this amazing message, but if it's not going to accomplish what you want it to, it doesn't matter how good it sounds. So let's start off with talking money, because how you allocate your marketing budget is going to be key to the success of any campaign. And it is very tempting to take whatever budget, whether how big or how small that might be, and spread it out over a bunch of different options. But I really caution anybody about giving into that temptation, because here's why. The whole goal of marketing is to get people to remember who you are, so that when they have a need for the product or the service that you sell, or something changes in their life and they're looking for a church or they're looking for a not-for-profit to support, you want them to think of you. But there is a harsh reality to this, because at any given time, there is only 2% of the population who is considered the hot market, that is, who is looking for the specific product or service right now when they hear your advertising. The other 98% of the population doesn't care. And that has, I know that's harsh, but it has huge implications when you're planning your market strategy and trying to determine how best to reach those potential customers. And then there's also this nasty little thing that all humans have called the curve of forgetting, because retention of information and time are not friends. And I'm just going to pull up a bit of a graph here to share with you, because this is talking about the curve of forgetting. Now, a few years ago, I attended a seminar in downtown Edmonton, and I had to park my car in one of these multi-level parkades. I'm not good at remembering where I parked my car. I'm absolutely horrible about finding my car in a grocery parking lot, never mind a multi-level. So I really intentionally made a point of taking note where I parked my car and what level. So the end of the day, got in the elevator, went back to where I left my car, and lo and behold, mysteriously, my car was not where I thought I had left it. And that little panic button becomes very handy when you're wandering around a multi-level parking lot trying to find your car. Why am I telling you this? Because this illustrates the curve of forgetting that you see on the screen. I really wanted to remember where I'd left my car. That was important, meaningful information to me. But after one day, we only remember 72% of the information that is super important to us. That means we've forgotten 28% of it already. But what about meaningless information? The stuff that advertising is made of, things that are not relevant to us. Well, after 33 seconds, we have forgotten 58% of the information that we just heard. That's like the average length of a commercial. So after 24 hours, we only remember about 34% of what we heard. So these two things, the 2% hot market and the curve of forgetting, are what you are up against when you are trying to decide how best to reach your potential customers or your target market. And here's the thing, people don't respond to your advertising. They respond to their needs. So the hot market, I'm going to stop sharing that. The hot market is going to respond right away. But that is why you need to educate the other 98% of your potential customers about who you are, so that when suddenly their life changes or something shifts and they need you, you want to be the business that they think of. You want to be top of mind in their little filing cabinet in their brain, so that you are who they are looking for. So the way to overcome those two challenges is to speak to consistently to the same group of people with a consistent message over and over and over again. You need that relentless repetition to get past the curve of forgetting. And if you dilute your marketing budget by spreading it out over all these different options, and a little bit here and a little bit here and a little bit here, you don't have enough repetition with any one group to actually be effective in your advertising. And you end up walking away you've wasted your money, and you have a bad taste in your mouth with any form of advertising that you've tried because you felt that it didn't work. So really focus in on using that budget well. I don't know if anybody's heard of Roy Williams. Roy Williams is a marketing consultant out of the States, and he writes a series of books called The Wizard of Ads. And he talks a lot about buying radio and TV, but a lot of he has 3 books actually, and a lot of what he writes about is relevant across all forms of media. So if your marketing budget won't allow you to dominate a specific form of media, then narrow it down so that you're talking to that same group of people repeatedly. If you're doing radio, maybe, and you can't spread it out throughout the whole day, then pick a couple of hours and hammer like 3 messages within a 2-hour time frame when the same people are tuning in all the time. If you're doing billboards, then pick one specific location and put yourself in that rotation 2 or 3 times just on that one billboard that's close to your business, so that people are seeing that repetition, repetition, repetition. Please don't give in to the temptation to dilute your marketing budget. And when we're talking to people, we talk to them about that too. We would rather see people choose another form of media that is going to work well for them than spread everything out across the board. And then when you're doing one thing well and you've got traction, take that added revenue and add something else into it. Now, very briefly, digital marketing. You might wonder, okay, I'm in radio, so why would I talk about digital? Well, the reality is everybody has to do some form of digital marketing today. And digital marketing actually goes very well hand in hand with other forms of traditional media, regardless of what those types of media are. And honestly, what we tell people is, before you consider any other form of advertising, there's a couple of things that you need to be doing well in the digital space before you do anything else. First of all, make sure you have a website, even if it's a simple landing page. If it's a 1-page with your contact information, here's how you find us. If that's where you need to start, that's great, but get that web presence and claim or set up your Google My Business page. It's free. There's online instructions on how to do it, because the reality is that when people hear you or see you in any other form of media, the first thing that they are going to do, they're not going to walk in your door, they're going to go and search for you online. And if they can't find you online, they'll probably go somewhere else. And they'll also read the Google reviews. And so that's why it's important to have that Google My Business page set up as well. The other thing that digital is great for is being able to track the effectiveness of whatever forms of advertising you're doing. Because I know everybody says, oh, I ask people how they heard about us when they come into their business. But the reality is, most people are going to tell you that they heard about you from the last point of connection that they made, which is usually your website. It's very seldom that people will walk into a church or a business or connect with a not-for-profit today without first having visited their website. And then when you ask them, they'll say, oh, I found you online. And you'll think, oh, well, my advertising isn't working. But they connected with you online because they saw the billboard, or they heard you on radio, or they saw you on a bus bench. And that's what drove them to your website in the first place. So when you're trying to evaluating any form of paid advertising, it doesn't matter what it is, check your Google Analytics. Are people searching on you more? Are your direct name searches increasing? Are you getting more hits on your website? If you're seeing those things go up, it's probably a pretty good indication that your advertising is doing what you were hoping it is. And of course, people coming through your door, increased traffic through your door. Okay, that's enough about digital. How am I doing for time there, Jim? Am I good? I can't hear you. You're muted, so I'm going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going. Let's talk about the message. There are two things that make advertising effective: enough repetition and a great message. Those are two key components.
At this point in our live presentation, our presenter shared some media files with the audience. Unfortunately, these were copyright protected materials, and permission to include them in our video was not provided. The following is therefore offered for your consideration only. They come from various sources and may or may not be appropriate for your purposes. Points to consider would include engaging with your audience. Be focused and connect with your audience. Be creative, be distinctive, be unique. Tailor your message for your target audience. And your message needs to be clear. As well, have a memorable or sticky message, one they can take with them. Visuals and audio can set the tone for your entire presentation. They raise the potential for the receptivity of your audience. They support the message that you're delivering, and they can evoke powerful emotions with your audience. Now, let's return to our event presenter.
Okay, so a couple of thoughts or comments that I'm going to make about that. When you are thinking about what you want to communicate to your potential client, think about what you want to accomplish. And that's what Jennilee was saying too. What do we want to accomplish? Are you wanting to brand your business? Are you promoting an event or sale? Because those are two very different types of messages that you're going to need. The content is different, the tone is different, the urgency is different, the call to action is different. Everything about it is different. Even the length of time that you're going to run the message for, and the number of messages that you're going to need if it's an event that you're trying to promote for a church, you're going to need a much higher number of commercials in a shorter time span for people to respond. If you're looking for long-term branding, it's going to be fewer messages over a longer span of time. And so what you want to accomplish ultimately determines what your message is and how you're going to present it. Please do not try to fit everything that you do into one message, because I know it is super tempting to just squeeze every product and service and everything about who you are and what you do and everything else into this little 15 or 30-second blurb or this massive print on a billboard. But it ends up being this endless laundry list of items that people just simply tune out and how many times we've all driven by a billboard that had so much stuff on it that you had no idea what the message was that they were trying to send or who the actual advertiser was. So pick one specific idea or concept and deliver it in a concise way. So just to kind of walk back the 3 points where we've been, don't dilute your marketing budget. Pick something, pick one thing and do it well. And get the digital basics down before you move on to other types of media. And decide what your message is and deliver it in a clear and concise manner. And I'm going to end there because I think my time is up.
I'm off mute now.
There you go.
Okay. Well, always something to learn when you're in media and stuff like this. Carol, thank you so much for sharing these insights. Very, very helpful. And I took a few notes myself. So thank you very much. I think what we would like to do right now is we probably have about 20 minutes roughly left in our session officially. Gord, if you could put us into breakout rooms here in just a moment, that would be good. I think maybe if we could have random into maybe, what would it be? Maybe 4 breakout rooms of 3 people, something like that. If we could do that, and we'll probably have about, maybe about 10 minutes in the breakout room, and then we'll come back and share some insights. So this is what we want you to do in the breakout room. Very, very quickly, just introduce yourself to the other 2 people that would probably be in your breakout room, just so that you have a name, okay? Let's start with that. Just say hi quickly, and then brainstorm creative ways to connect. We'll get you back in the plenary session here in the main group in about 10 minutes. And then we'd like to have a little feedback from each room, maybe a representative from each room, just to kind of talk about what your creative idea was, and we'll share that with each other. And if you want to throw that into the chat, that would be a great way to collect it as well. So Gord, if you want to put us into breakout rooms, let's go for about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back. All right, perfect. Hey, that was a lot of fun. I know we enjoyed our conversation in breakout room number 1. Who's number 1? We were number 1. Anyway, yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's have a quick hearing of what was discussed in the different groups. Let's go in order, and I don't know who was in what room, but I know Kennedy has volunteered. Kennedy, thank you. Yeah, we're all smiling. Kennedy's going to share what number 1 talked about. Go ahead.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Yeah, we touched a lot of key points in work environment. And if we could just summarize it into 3 categories, we talked about taking time to learn one another of our peers, to get to know each other, to have a conversation with them so we can know how we can get to work together, so we can get to know how to help each other, to know our strength and where we need help. Another key point that we took was to have that initiative of taking sacrifices and having that sense of integrity. So to be able to go above and beyond. So Pastor was telling us how they set up a hospitable event. They will spend money to buy chairs and get coffee, just to get people in a very good environment where they can be free to talk and engage and be able to feel welcomed. And the third one was to be able to take initiative in tough decisions where there is necessary decisions that are needed to be taken, to be able to stand out and be able to take on those tough decisions. And yeah, and all of this to be done by seeking the wisdom of God, obviously, to guide us to do what's best. So if I could summarize, I just summarized them in those 3 key points, and I hope it was and it was a great time. Actually, we have a great time. Thank you so much.
Well done, Kennedy. Yes, big applause. Room number 2 was focused on an educational setting. Now, lifelong learning is an important component that we've been told about many, many times, lifelong learning. Room number 2, who's your spokesperson?
Room 2 had Carol, Daniel, and Myrna in it.
Okay.
I think Carol or Daniel should take this.
That's my wife volunteering people.
I've already talked. Daniel, it's your turn.
Yeah, I think Daniel, he's a teacher.
Right. Okay. So I asked a question that how we can, connect our target audience, students, because they are easily distracted by, especially digital devices. And then, because I am teaching at King's University, that is Christian business education, so I asked the question to Carol that, how we can engage the students so that they will see spiritual aspect of business that is relevant to them so that we can engage them. So Carol explained that the model the way is one of the way, or we have to be an example for, especially instructor should be the example for students so that students see that one, how it works, and then how this is relevant to them. So she gave example of her professor that allocate the 10 minutes for the devotions so that students see that devotion is important part of their life.
Wonderful. Thank you, Daniel. Good conversation. Room number 3 was recreational settings, whatever that may be. Who's your spokesperson?
And that is Alan, Wayne, and Boots Laptop.
Do you have a spokesperson? Maybe my wife can pick somebody.
I could speak up if you wish. Myrna, what do you think? The recreational space, we said, do what they do. And I think Wayne said he met a fellow in his 70s at the gym who is taking up boxing. He's never done that. I thought that was cool. I bowl in a league, and I'm amazed at how few questions people ask of me. But I learn a lot by asking people questions. Maybe they get tired of me asking questions, but I sense that people are warming up to me. I'm in my 3rd year in the league, and word is now getting around that I'm a pastor, and there's a lot of joking about that, and hopefully it'll lead to some serious conversations. But I think just engaging people in conversation and asking questions is very important. Taking an interest in people.
Excellent. Building relationship with people. 3 years in the bowling league, and hopefully you won't strike out. That's the wrong sport. Strikes are a part of bowling, though. Okay. Family gathering. Did someone have that? Room 4?
Yeah, I think we should have the extrovert in the group talk, Collins.
That's a good one. I guess I'm going to be talking about myself. So basically, I think it was between myself, Ijoma, and Gord. God talked a little bit about the fact that he has 2 sons, I believe, and there isn't much of a big family there. But Ijoma talked about how she is an introvert. However, there was something interesting that I thought she brought up, the fact that the use of icebreaker questions. Funny enough, I find myself in a men's group at my local church where I volunteered to lead a men's group, and I'm very new in that church. And so every meeting I have an icebreaker question when we break into groups. But I mean, going back to family, it's been challenging, obviously, with the COVID and everything. But when I'm in a family setting, I am always poking at people. I will always find a way to connect with you. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's sports, whether it's the weather, whether it's work related. There's always something that I can poke at to make you, say something. Right now we have video messaging and whatnot, so we use that to connect a lot with family members. So for me, it's very easy for me to blend in. Like I said, I find it very easy to connect with people because I have several points of conversation starters that I can have. And that has always been one of my strengths as far as, connecting with people. So basically that's all we shared, and then Gord left us because it was getting heated over there, so he needed some fresh air, so he left us. And then Jerome and I, we kind of try to connect between ourselves with an interesting topic that we have between our cultures, which was, unfortunately, we didn't have enough time, but we were able to find something common, and I think that speaks to going back to what Jennilee shared earlier on, the fact that once you know where your target audience are, you intentionally plant yourself to be there. And I think that's one of the things you can always do, is find something that's common between you and someone else within that group setting, where it makes the conversation easy because everybody is interested in that topic and everybody is easily drawn into that conversation. The next thing you know, it leads on to several conversations and it builds up that connection. So that's all we have, and that's all we shared.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, we had 4 rooms and 4 areas that we touched on. And again, thank you for your participation in the breakout rooms and then sharing those ideas with us here too. Again, you can add some of those comments if you wish into the chat very quickly. We're quickly running out of time. It would have been nice to have had another hour to spend with you, but some of you in Eastern Canada, that would make it for a very late night. So we'll kind of leave things there. As we kind of wrap up things, if you don't mind, I'm going to just quickly flip over here. This is what we've been covering off over our time together in this season. We've had the first 2 meetings prior to Christmas. And when we get back to our session in January, the 17th, we're going to be looking at organizing and reducing potential risks. Following that, we'll take a look at funding options for starting and growing a venture of some sort. And the last one that we'll wrap up deals with serving customers with excellence. All of us should be demonstrating the attitude of servant leadership and excellence in the things that we do, as we would represent Jesus Christ in the places where he has us. We can continue the conversation, not virtually this way in the Zoom meeting, but we do have a collaborative community that we've built on Facebook. Now, not everyone is on Facebook, but for those of you that are, check us out if you're not already a part of this particular group. I think we're close to about 170 people, actually. This is an older slide that we have here, but there's probably about 170 people on our Facebook group. Just search it out. Search for the name Marketplace Ministries Network Facebook group, and just 3 quick questions there, and we'll let you in. We'd love to have you there. So that's great, and we would welcome you to participate with us. We really do believe that God has us where we are for his purposes, and whether that's a business, a ministry, or some sort of special project that he's impressed upon us, we are there to represent Jesus Christ in the things that he has us doing, and we should do that with excellence as well. So I would hope that today's session, the topic that we've dealt with, has given us, through our presenters, through Jennilee and Carol, thank you so much to both of you for sharing your insight and expertise with us. For each of you that have been with us in the live session, adding your comments and your perspectives, we really appreciate that. We trust that we've been able to take some things away that we will then be able to employ in the places where we are and better connect with those that are in the marketplaces of life. We are so appreciative of the things that each of you have done to help us to get to where we are. We encourage you to spread the word, be with us in the new year, January 17th. We've had just such great support. Gord, thanks for stick handling on the Zoom facility here. Really appreciate that. The King's University, the Leader School of Business, Christian Business Ministries Canada have been great supporters. The Shepherd's Guide in Canada, good friends and supportive. So many organizations that have been helping us. Carol, I mentioned Touch Canada Broadcasting and the radio stations. Great to have the exposure on the community pages there. Thank you so much for that. And I could go on and on. Pastors, thank you very much. All of that. Really appreciate your input. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to wrap up there. Thank you so much. Don't forget to save the chat. I put a note about saving the chat in the chat. So if you want to take a look there, save the chat. There's a way that you can do that. It's beyond me, but thank you so much. We'll be stopping the recording. I'll maybe hang out just a little bit longer with Gord until we get old. I shouldn't have said that. Okay, I'll just stay around for a little bit longer. Thank you so much. God bless you. Merry Christmas, and let's stay in touch, okay? Thanks for being with us. We trust you found this to be helpful. And if so, please give us a like, a follow, and a share. The Bible says in Matthew, "Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven." If you're launching or growing a business, a ministry area, or a special project, or if you're involved in helping them as a resource or service provider, we'd love to have you participate with us. Stay informed of upcoming events and items of interest by subscribing to the Marketplace Ministries Update, sent out periodically. May God bless you as you do your best to faithfully represent Jesus Christ in the marketplaces of life.